Hi, another vlog. This is about what's going on with the rTMS, repetitive magnetic transcranial stimulation, the magnet stimulation on the brain, what's been happening, and just an update vlog. So it's only been 3 days, and so far it's brought up a lot of emotion for me. It's actually allowed me to think more clearly in a way, like less anxiety. But it's also had another side effect where I felt a little bit of, almost felt like psychosis after I think like the second day, like just kind of like a bad feeling in general, and then kind of a loopy feeling. I don't know if that's really truly psychosis or not, but it's just a really bad feeling. Um, you know, some people might say that's like spiraling or something, but I would kind of say, like, I felt that throughout a lot of my life, but it's just like a bad feeling and you kind of feel loopy. So I felt that on the second day. It kind of went away, um, but I still have like a slight fear about it. So that's sort of what's been going on with that. But also I've been feeling a lot of emotion, and then I've also been going to therapy as well and working. It's helped me to sort of say like the about the like the childhood traumas and kind of work through them and go over them. And in therapy, it takes a lot of effort on my part to just kind of hold to the fact that I just want to talk about, my childhood traumas and go over them with this therapist, because and that's for some reason that's that way with a lot of therapists, where it's hard to actually get them to let you talk about what you want to talk about. At least for me, maybe it's because I'm hard to read, maybe it's because something, maybe it's because they suck. I don't know what it's because of, but I have to like stay firm. Like, yeah, I just want to go over my list of traumas. Like, I wrote them all down. I just want to keep going over it. And me, I get frustrated because I'm like, duh, isn't that what therapy is? You talk about your family, you talk about your parents, your relationships, you talk about what happened to you when you were a kid, and you talk about, whatever else, but like those are the main important things. So anyways, I was able to talk about those more, and I was kind of talking about like my frustration of being the parent for my mom, and how that's still ongoing, and my how I didn't have a dad that was there, and he beat up my mom uh, when they were together, I guess, but I didn't see it. I just kind of heard about it, and then he was not there basically, and so for much of my childhood. So we're kind of talking about that, and like this stuff kind of makes me tear up during the therapy, and like so like I'll start crying a little bit, or like the tears will come, and that's actually what I want. That's actually what I want to like work through. That's like emotion from like old traumas. Like that's like what the point is of going over it, right? To let the emotion out. You take the emotional punch out, right? If you keep going over it in like a safe space. But the therapist like wants to like seize on that moment to say stuff, and in that moment I don't have the. It's like a vulnerable thing, so I don't have the like. I would have to switch into like a protective mode to tell her, please just shut up, let me cry. Like, people don't understand this, that when you are crying or something, let the person cry. Unless you really know that person, like I'm talking really know them, like close friend or family or something, or if you're like actually an experienced therapist would know not to do this. Don't start saying stuff. Don't like engage that person logically. It's like, why don't they know this? Like, it's an emotional thing. It's like the emotion, they come in a wave, and then it's like it lasts like 90 seconds, and then there's reverberations, right? So there's like a big one, and then someone will break into crying, and it can look really ugly. It can be really ugly crying or something, but that's actually healthy. That's how the body deals with things, like and kind of like connects to the world, I think. And balances in some way, and just let them do that, and then like there'll be, you know, like some more waves and stuff, but it just, I don't know, man. But I have to really, you know, it's a challenge just to work through this stuff, even in therapy. So, anyways, okay, so what's going on now is that I have like I've been talking to a lot of women, or like just in general, I've been talking to a lot of women, which is actually a hard thing, although it feels kind of safer for me to talk to, because, you know, I guess for some reason I really, it's gonna, no homo, like not in a gay way, I like men, like I like being around men. It's impossible to say that without sounding gay, I think, but I like you know, that male companionship or whatever, but it's hard to do that because I don't know, like for some reason it's actually kind of hard for some reason. Maybe because I got bullied so much by my own group of friends, guy friends. I'm not actually sure, you know, but it is really tough. But so anyways, I've been talking to all of these women, and then lately I've been like dating, or I re-downloaded the dating apps. I've been talking to girls on there. Those are really awful, by the way. Like they screw with people so much, their brains, like that's not like really natural. Like that's not normal for a man's brain, or even like a woman's brain too, to see like all these like options, and like be like, you know, swiping and everything, and like I don't know, it just kind of is screwy. Like it's not, humans are not designed that way. So anyways, that's been giving me like a kind of like a stress as well. But also it's activating like an attachment stress, like attachment issues thing. And then, so the thing is that I have this like fear that's coming up about instability in my personality, because, you know, I have like identity issues from all of this trauma and everything growing up, and like being bullied constantly and all this, and like, so it's really hard to form like an identity. And then also Canada broadly has identity issues, and Canada's really screwed up, and the West is really screwed up. It's actually in decline. The Western civilization is declining. But so people have all these really screwy identities, and everything kind of feels like really weird. And like you see people walking around, they're like covered in tattoos. Nobody looks mature anymore. Everybody kind of looks sort of crazy or pissed off or whatever. There's not really cohesion among people. There's like groups of like people speaking different languages all the time, which maybe could work, but it's not like you would think. It's like black and brown people, and it's like East Indians that like kind of stick together, and there's like, it's just, it's screwed up. Like the identity in Canada is so screwed, but that's like a symptom of the decline of civilization. So anyways, so for with me, I just feel kind of like somewhat of an instability in my personality, which, you know, obviously I don't like that, but and if I knew how to change that, I would. But so I pray on it, and you know, more and more I'm making God my rock, my, you know, anchor in life, and so that's more and more what I'm doing. But I still have kind of like this fear about like, well, how am I gonna feel, you know? Because a lot of things about the modern day are like based on feeling all the time. Everyone's always asking like, how are you? How are you? And it's like annoying, you know? Because it's like, what am I supposed to say? Good all the time? Like, and then if you say that you have like one minor little thing, or like something, like they hype, people like hyper focus in on you and make you feel weird about it. So that's why nobody really says how they're like really feeling, although some people do. But that's also more of an identity thing too, or like it's very complicated, very confusing too, because then other people know that person as someone who they kind of expect that from that person. And I guess with me, I've kind of always wanted to, I'm not really sure, I guess I've always had like values about the truth and everything, and having camaraderie and, you know, honest conversations, and, you know, allowing people to be criticize each other in like a healthy way and stuff. But yeah, a lot of that just is not present. It's barely possible with how bad the discourse is in society. But so anyways, yeah, the instability about my personality fear. I just fear that because you know, I want to have a wife, I want to have children, I want to have a career, I want to have, you know, these things, right? But all in service of praising God. And I just somewhat worry about you know, if I get people, if people are, if in some way people come in my life and it's like things are going good, I worry that, you know, they're gonna leave or things are gonna go bad, right? And that's another trauma symptom, attachment issue. So anyways, that's just something I'm dealing with. And oh yeah, I also want to say thank God for my uncle James, because it's just nice to have contact with another man, because he's my uncle and I've always really looked up to him. He's actually a very impressive guy. He's really intelligent. He's like a math professor, and yeah, he's just, I've always looked up to him. But so it's nice to have contact with him, because we were playing cribbage, me and my auntie and my uncle. And okay, so yeah, and then I was on these dating apps, and I had a date with a Catholic girl lined up, and she canceled on me like 2.5 hours before the date, using what I said to her as a reason to cancel. And it kind of pissed me off, because I'm just kind of sick of dating. Like, dating is so annoying, and like, it's so it's so weird and fake too, as well, a lot of the time. But it's complicated as well, because it's like, yeah, there's all this stuff going on. But I told her, like, you know, I'm going to this. Basically, I was nervous, and I just wanted to for some reason I said this. I guess I was trying to be honest, but, you know, I guess it scared her off or something. I said I'm going to this rTMS treatment. It's treatment for depression and anxiety. So if I seem a little bit off, you'll know why. But I'm still good to meet you, you know, because she said, "Are you still good to meet at the time at, you know, 5 o'clock?" And I said, "Yeah, but I'm going to this treatment, and I'm still going. Good to see you." And then she messaged me back, but I didn't actually see the full message. I only saw the first part, and so I went and waited for the date. And I was like, "Oh, did she stand me up?" And I looked at the message, and the rest of it was like, "Oh, well, maybe we can meet again when you're feeling better, or we could meet another day when you're feeling better." Smiley face. I was like, so fucking annoying. Like, why would she use that, like, to cancel the date? It's just like, I told her, like, I'm still good to meet. I may seem a little bit off because I'm doing this treatment, and she canceled it. So it was annoying to me, but I believe that you know, rejection is God's way of protecting us, right? And yeah, so it's just, yeah, it's tough. It's tough. The whole dating thing is tough. And relationships thing. It's tough. Well, that's like the whole point of life, is relationships. First and foremost, our relationship to God, and then our relationship to each other, right? But it's tough, and it's like, it can be really tough. That's the only thing I can say. You know, it pissed me off. Like, that made me mad. And then so what I did was I was like mad, and then I remembered, like, thank God for everything. So I was mad, and I was, trying to remember to thank God for it. And I took that I guess it's anger or frustration, irritation, whatever that energy at that time, as I was driving home, and then I turned it into, or I used it, or God helped me use it to go hold up a sign. I wrote a sign that says Jesus loves you in big letters, and I went and I held it by the road. And actually it was really hard to do that, because I had been really nervous about doing that for like over 2 weeks, I guess. I kind of had the urge to do that, and then I bought the materials. Like, I bought the cardboard sign, and I bought the marker, and it was just like really hard for me to actually like follow through and do it. And today, or not today, yesterday I did it. So I like walked up to the overpass where all these cars go by, and then I was like standing there for a long time, and I felt like almost crippling fear, like really bad fear. Like, I was really afraid, And I don't really know how to explain why exactly, but it's partly to do with like being seen or standing up for what I believe in, and being afraid of being like crushed for it, because that happened to me a lot when I was growing up. The bullying was intense, daily, all the time, even at home for my sister, and it was just chaos in my house. And so I'm just kind of used to getting crushed, and made fun of, or mocked, or attacked, or like, so it's like I learned to be very quiet and cautious and follow the rules, and don't share too much of an opinion. And I feel like a lot of people are that way, but I felt that way, so I have that feeling that happens to me. So then I just like waited for a few waves of cars to come past, and then I waited for a break in the cars, and then I opened up the sign and I held it, and I was standing there holding the sign, big sign that says Jesus loves you. And it was like a nice evening after work, I guess, for people driving home, because the sun was kind of like shining in almost like that sort of like, not orange, but getting to be deeper, like yellow orange light, and like hitting the sign. And I was standing there, and I was just like basically trying to hold it together behind the sign. Like, I was like breaking up, like emotion, like crying. And but people were honking, like some people were honking, and that made me, I felt good, thanks be to God, because I was I was like worried for some reason, and it was just nice to have a little bit of support. And I feel like spreading that message is so important, because that's the love of God, basically, is it's not about me. It's not about me seeming pious, or self-aggrandizement. Like, it's always about God. And the thing I struggle with too is even like telling people about this, because I don't want to feel like, look at me, I'm so good because I spread the message of God. I want to basically live by the Bible, and which I'm still learning. I'm only just started Joshua, reading it from front to back, but yeah, I just I wanted to spread that message. And then I'm just saying, like, that's how I felt, about it. I actually felt a mixture of things, right? So then I didn't hold it for long. I held the sign for like a minute and a half, and I went. I walked away, and I'm just, thankful to God for giving me that courage. And I think that the whole point of why I'm here, this is like a message I got. It's the only way I could put it is a message. Why I took that ketamine therapy. That the point of life, the point why I'm here, is to praise, worship, glorify, and thank God. And that's always. Good times, bad times, always. Okay. So I'm talking to a new woman. I met her on this app, and I'm a little nervous because this is gonna sound terrible. It's an app for like depressed people or people who need to talk about things like mental health issues. And actually, I use it for kind of like, I don't know, I use it for like, it's for like lonely people too. Like, I use it for like both things, like looking for women, or like just like that to like not feel lonely, and like also to like vent what I'm feeling, or what I'm going through. And I also sometimes support other people on there as well. But yeah, a lot of people say it's like, oh, it's not a dating app or whatever, but I don't know. It's just been like a habit that I use it I've been using it for like 10 years, and a lot of times I've been talking to when I talk to women on there or something. A lot of times it was like basically it was just like for fornication. It was for lust. It was to fill like a void of loneliness or something. And so it was for bad intentions, basically. And then so I started talking to this girl, and she believes in God as well, in Jesus. But I think her intentions was more toward like the fornication side. I'm not even sure. I don't want to actually say that, but she was like really open to that, and I was just she was like asking me like about how I was doing because I posted about something. And then I was like telling her, and then oh yeah, and I was telling her I was gonna go on a date and all this stuff, and then she wanted to like know how it was gonna go and everything, and yeah, I was just kind of explaining like what was going on, and then I was telling her, I'm moving away from like this fornication. I'm trying to stay faithful to God. God doesn't want us to fornicate. She didn't actually think masturbation was a sin, and I told her it is. And, I told her, don't do that. But now, so we've been talking, and then it's, it's like now there's like a possibility or an openness that maybe I could date this girl, maybe I could go see her, but that's really thinking way too soon. So I've only been talking to her for a couple days, so but so far I do like her because she believes in God, she's obedient, she's nurturing, she's good looking, she's attractive, and those are my main criteria. She wants a family, so she's young enough. She's 23, so which is, that's a good age. So anyways, I just, I told her like, let's pray, pray on this, we'll see what happens, right? It's all in God's hands. And I really mean that. Like, it's a struggle for me because I struggle with like my own wants and desires and like sexual needs or sexual wants and desires and all these things, right? Which I resist them. But then I also struggle with there's also like a balance, between what God wants, and I can feel it in my heart, and I try and focus on that feeling. So that feeling is like kind of like a it's kind of, sometimes it's like a glowing feeling in my heart. So it's like a calm and a peace. And it comes when I'm praying sometimes. It comes a lot more like when when I cry after I've been doing this rTMS, it's helping my emotions come through. And when I cry and when I work through these things in therapy, I always give praise to God for that, because that's actually helping me, and it's actually bringing me closer to God as well, because when I pray, I can feel this like glowing feeling. It's like a calm and a peace, and it can be scary too. And so it's like I am just a worthless slave to God, and the thing is that we're all slaves. We're either slaves to sin, slaves to the world, slaves to the devil, or we're slaves to God. And really the only thing we have to fear is God. So we have to fear and love God. And the biggest commandment, or the highest teaching, is to love God, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And but we also have to fear God. And a lot of people miss this somehow, maybe because they don't read the Bible, or maybe because they just go to church and the preachers don't tell them. But the fear of God is very important too, right? Because that's separation. You really should fear the separation of being away from God. Because all goodness, all love, all good things come from God, right? He is those things. God is perfect. God is holy. Holy means clean. When we do things that are unholy, that are unclean, those actually separate us from God. God can't see us. It says this clearly in the Bible. God can't accept anything that's unclean. Meaning he won't see us if we are unclean. If we're in a state of sin, if we're in a if we're doing things that separate us from God, we won't feel goodness. We won't feel close to him, and we feel that in our heart. So it's kind of like a glowing feeling. It's kind of like a peace. It's a calm. And I believe it grows, and we have to always show up for God every day, always pray every day, and always try to do his will. So that's what we work on. Okay, and then another thing is that this is kind of like a more of a latent or a subconscious thing that I've always had. Is I have a kind of like a fear and a confusion about work and about having a job, because when I was a kid, I always kind of felt like it was very abstract. I never really knew what I was supposed to be doing. people would always ask me, and I never really understood. I just thought I was supposed to be very impressive. So I'd say things like, oh, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, because I was just picking things based off of esteem or status because I have really low self-esteem. So I was trying to find something that had, which I thought would give me that self-esteem, right? That esteem. I thought I would get it from having a job like that. So I've always had kind of like a fear and confusion because the expectations I have are so high for what I should be doing. And and I've tried a lot of different work, and I don't really know what I'm going to do for work because I'm just not sure right now. But I mean, I have the ability and the capacity to do a lot of different things. And I'm just kind of waiting to see praying to see what I will end up doing. One thing I know that I'm really kind of bad at is actually interacting with people. It's really hard for me. I have to sort of put on a mask or a face, or I end up trying to be a people pleaser or something like this. And it just happens. It's like subconscious, but that's really hard. I don't really like doing that, So I'm not really sure what job I will do, but work is actually really difficult in a lot of ways because, but it's necessary as well. I don't want to say it's not necessary, but it's difficult because you kind of have to conform yourself to a lot of BS depending on which job you're doing or whatever. But like at my old job, I was working with on a mental health team with children and youth, and I was doing my absolute best to do a good job because that's very important, right? Working with kids, right? And the Bible teaches us, don't steer kids wrong. It would be better if you were to have a millstone put around your neck and thrown into a lake than to teach kids to do wrong. And I really took it very seriously, and I felt like a lot of people kind of maybe they took it seriously, but in a weird direction, because there's like all this LGBT stuff everywhere. It's like we're working with kids, and this is the state of Canada. We're working with kids, and you're telling them they can be anything they want, and no one will tell them barely anything. And there's like very little authority going around. Like there's all this kind of you can do whatever you want, and kids can have all these different neurodivergence and all this, and they're just hammering these kids with woke propaganda. A lot of it's woke propaganda, and it gets confusing because there's some truth in some of it, but a lot of it's really and we had I remember there was one girl who was 18 who wanted to transition to a boy, and she was talking about getting her breasts cut off, and it's just oh, that's a tragedy. That's really bad. Self-mutilation, and it's all supported by everybody apparently. I told my boss, I said, I don't agree with this LGBT agenda. And she told me, thank you for sharing with me, and our official position is that we're neutral, because we were working, for the government, right? It was government funded, it was government. And I was just okay, I can do that. So anyways, I didn't tell this girl anything, I didn't try to support, and I didn't try to deter. I tried to stay neutral. But the sad thing is that it's kind of like a tacit agreement, and because we have LGBT flags everywhere, it's everyone is welcome here, rainbow flag, whatever, trans flag. So it's just they put all that stuff up everywhere, and then they say they're neutral. How's that neutral, you know? So it's really screwed up. But that's my example of why it's kind of hard to work for certain jobs, because if you work for like a woke institution, it kind of sucks because they you will get you'll get your head taken off if you speak out against it, and it's just, yeah, it's really tough. There was this woman who got fired recently from the Conservative Party in BC because she spoke against the narrative of the Indigenous Truth and Reconciliation 215 mass graves, which were purportedly found in near Kamloops, I think. And I saw like varying numbers, but I saw like 7 million, 8 million, saw sometimes like, some of it said like hundreds of million, but the government was just throwing money at this, you know, because at the time it seemed like a good idea to do, probably, right? Dig up these mass graves and give these, you know, people a proper burial or something, or something like that. But they didn't find any bodies, they didn't find any bones, and now we have this, you know, we have this Truth and Reconciliation holiday, but they didn't. That was like, you know, a direct response to this discovery of that, and there was no, you know, they jumped the gun. They said that they found mass graves. They were just anomalies because there's no bones being found, you know. Maybe they could still find them, I don't know, but apparently they've spent 8 million doing an excavation and haven't found anything. And so now we have this September 30th holiday. Some places it's a stat holiday, some provinces, and everybody wears an orange shirt, and, you know, the guilting is just like huge, like the white guilt or whatever, and like the everything, and every child matters, and all of this, and so it's kind of like screwy. But this girl, but you can kind of get it if you're in like that perspective or like that mindset, I guess, you know, of like, we're victims, everybody's oppressors, colonizers, the church is terrible, residential schools are terrible, white people are so guilty. So you can kind of get it if you come at it from that angle. But then the facts are a little different, right? Like, where was the 215 bodies after the excavation? They didn't find any bones. And so this girl who worked for the BC Conservative Party said something, and she got fired right away. She got fired, yeah. Which, you know, she made a video about it. It is a conservative viewpoint, I think. It should be anybody's viewpoint, I think, to just follow what's true and what's factual. And she said, like, I think she said it was like a hoax or something about the mass graves, and she got fired. And yeah, that's the narrative's really strong. Yeah, really, really strong. So it's manipulation. It's that's like atrocity propaganda. Yeah, that's really strong. And now they're trying to I think there's some people that are trying to codify it into law. It's illegal to question anything about residential schools and something like this. So they're trying to codify the narrative into law to make it even more powerful or something like that. You know, in a similar way to the Holocaust, which is already codified into law. You're not allowed to question. You'll go to jail. You'll literally go to jail for anti-Semitism and hate speech. And they're already I think they just passed another hate speech bill or law, Bill C-8 or something. And they always call it safety. It's for safety. They use safety for everything. It's always about safety. And yeah, it's there's a balance between safety and control, right? Safety, expression, and control. There's a balance there. And liberty as well. But in Canada, we don't have that too much. It's stifled. It's chilled. They're chilling speech. Stifling, chilling, making people afraid to say what's on their mind. You know? So, yeah, that's tough. That is tough. Canada's in a really bad shape when it comes to discourse. Oh, gee whiz. Alright, so, yeah, that's all I want to say.